In the world of AI, they say a week can feel like a year. Well, this past week, it felt more like a decade. Seriously, the market is just flooded with new models. So what we're going to do today is cut right through all that noise, all that hype. We're going to look for the real strategic power plays, but business models that actually make sense, and the tools that, you can actually use. These are the things that will define the next quarter, maybe even the next year. All right, so here's the plan. First, we'll look at the big battle for raw intelligence. Then we'll tackle the absolute explosion in video generation. After that, we'll see how these things are becoming smarter tools, not just toys. Then a big one, the open source rebellion. And finally, we'll touch on hardware, bots, and what's coming next. All right, first up, the main event. We're talking about the battle for raw intelligence, the clash for who has the smartest model on the planet. And believe me, this is where the big money, the billions, are being spent. And it's for a lot more than just bragging rights. So, who's really on top of the AI ladder right now? Well, this week, two huge contenders made a play for that crown. And honestly, it tells you everything you need to know about where the market is headed. You've got the established giant making a big power move. And then you've got a challenger from the open source world stepping right into the ring. So, in one corner, you've got the incumbent, Google, with something they're calling DeepSeek. The strategy here is pretty straightforward, really. They're just pouring a massive amount of compute, more fuel, into their already powerful Gemini 3 engine. The goal? To let it reason longer and deeper on really complex stuff. And in the other corner, you have the challenger, DeepSeek. Yeah, the whale is back. And they've just dropped a new open source model that's, well, it's playing in the exact same league as the giants. Now check this out. What's really fascinating here are the results. And forget about your typical benchmarks, okay? Both of these models, both of them, achieved gold medal standard in the International Math Olympiad and the International Programming Contest. We're talking about the toughest competitions on the planet for humans. This isn't about, writing a slightly better email. This is about elite, world-class problem solving. But as always, you have to follow the money. You have to look at the business model. So here's the catch. Gemini DeepSeek, well, it's locked behind a $200 a month Ultra subscription. Yeah, so it's powerful for sure, but it's a very expensive walled garden. Just keep that number in your head because we're definitely coming back to this point. Okay, let's switch gears to the next battlefront, the video generation flood. And I'm not kidding, it felt like every single company on the planet dropped a new video model this week. It was a creative explosion, an absolute deluge. But as you'll see, they are not all created equal. So first up, Pixverse 5.5. Now, on paper, this is a big step. It has sound built in, but there's always a but, isn't there? The dialogue, it just lacks a bit of soul. It's robotic. You can tell it's AI from a mile away. So yeah, it's a new feature, but it's not quite fooling anyone yet. Then you have Runway's Gen 4.5. Look, it's a bit better on motion, the physics are a little more convincing, but frankly, I wasn't that impressed. There are still no sound, and you can see some visual noise. It's an incremental update, not a revolution. I've seen this play before. A company rolls out a minor spec bump and calls it a game changer. This isn't it. Now, Kleinling 2.6, this one is interesting. This is an omnimodal model. What does that mean? It means it understands text, images, and video inputs. So you can mix and match. You can pull a character from a photo and drop them into a video. Now that is a smart move. It's a move toward real utility, not just typing in a prompt and hoping for the best. And then there's Human Video 1.5. The key here is one word: speed. They put out an update that slashes generation time by a massive 75%. For businesses, for developers, this is what actually matters. Cutting down that time means you're saving money, you're more efficient. That's a metric that hits the bottom line. Okay, but then there's Live Avatar. This is the one that really got everyone talking. We're talking real-time video generation, infinite length, with audio. This is what everyone has been chasing. The demos are absolutely jaw-dropping. It's cranking out video at over 20 frames per second. But to do it, it takes 5 of these bad boys. And here's the catch. You need 5 H100 GPUs to make this thing run. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say most of you probably don't have 5 enterprise-grade GPUs just lying around in your basement. So it's an incredible demo, no doubt. But for the average person or a small business, it's completely out of reach for now.
But here's the silver lining, the important part. They've already promised that a model that can run on consumer-grade GPUs is on their to-do list. That is the announcement we need to be watching for. That's the real game changer.
All right, this brings us to our next section, smarter tools, not just toys. And this is a huge trend we're seeing. It's a real push away from just cool demos and toward tools that have actual utility. So let's talk about something called an agentic operating system. Basically, it's an AI that can autonomously go and do complex stuff for you across your web browser, your apps, even in your computer's terminal. It's not just a chatbot, it's an actual doer. But does it actually work? I mean, let's be honest, a lot of these AI agents, they get stuck, they fail, they just can't handle complex tasks. It's been a lot of hype. Well, this one, surprisingly, yeah, it seems to. It automates social media tasks with pretty thoughtful responses. It can handle coding projects without you ever needing to open the command line. I mean, it turns a 10-step process into a single prompt. It even seems to outperform competitors like Gemini's computer agent. This is a real look at AI becoming a digital employee. Okay, next up in this utility push, Poster Copilot. This is an AI agent specifically for professional graphics. And again, this is not just about typing a prompt and getting an image. It's a process. You give it a prompt and your assets, your logos, whatever, the AI agent generates a professional poster. Then you can use simple text prompts to make changes to refine it round after round. And you can instantly change the aspect ratio for different platforms. This is a perfect example of how AI can augment a creative workflow, not just try to replace the human. Okay, now let's circle back to that battle we talked about at the start, the open source rebellion. This is where the market really strikes back against the big, closed-off giants. Remember DeepSeek from the beginning? This is really the heart of the story this week. DeepSeek v3.2 isn't just good for an open source model. No, it's a world-class model that just happens to be open source. This is a huge deal. It's the first time we've seen a general-purpose open model hit that gold medal standard. And this right here is the chart that every single business leader and investor needs to pay attention to. Intelligence per dollar. For the same level of performance, the DeepSeek API is 10 to 15 times cheaper. 10 to 15 times. This completely changes the economics of building with AI. It's a massive disruption. Now, Mistral also had a release. And look, they make solid open source models. Good stuff. But the pace right now is just brutal. Their new models are basically on par with what was state-of-the-art last month. If you ask me, it feels like they brought a solid product to a market that just redefined itself last Tuesday. It is a tough, tough game to be in. Okay, last section. Let's talk hardware, bots, and what's next. Because all this intense competition in software, it's pulling the entire ecosystem forward. So check this out. It's a demo of a new robot, the T800. And your first reaction is probably CGI, right? It looks like a special effect. But it's not. It's real. It can pull off complex martial arts moves like spin kicks. It throws punches faster than any humanoid robot we've seen before. And it maintains its balance through these crazy combos. In fact, so many people called it CGI that they had to release behind-the-scenes footage just to prove it was real. Now let me know in the comments if you'd watch this, but we are going to get real steel in real life pretty soon. I don't know if I want one doing my laundry, but this is a serious contender in the robotic space. And it's not just robots. Let's look at image generation. Last week, Alibaba's Z image was the champion of open source models. This week, there's a new challenger called Longcat from a Chinese food delivery company. A food delivery company. It just proves that top-tier AI talent can come from absolutely anywhere now. And the list just keeps going. We saw Cream 4.5, which makes absolutely beautiful aesthetic images, but it's closed source. Then there's Meta's Tuna, which is kind of a jack of all trades. It does video, image, and text, but it's a master of none. The big takeaway is the whole ecosystem is accelerating, and we're seeing new specialized models pop up for every single niche. So let's wrap this up. What's the takeaway? The pace of innovation has hit a whole new gear. That's the main thing. Open source is not just a hobbyist thing anymore, it's competing at the absolute highest level, and it's changing the entire economic equation. Video generation is becoming a commodity, fast. And those useful AI agents we've been promised for years, they're finally here. So the big question you need to be asking isn't just what should we do, it's what is the real risk of doing nothing?